So I am checking here whether there are already some participants. I can see some of my colleagues organizing this session. And I can also see the participants entering. I think we all entered at once, so let's not lose time here and start right away. I hope you can all hear me well. First of all, I'll welcome you in this first parallel session as a part of the ESSA Brussels Roadshow. I very quickly present myself, but I can see we first have some technicalities that might be useful in order to organize this session well. As during the first time, we also asked you now to put your cameras on. If we exchange, it is really nice to see each other, of course. Switch your microphones off unless you have the word and you are speaking. If you want to participate, please raise your hand. That's useful to not talk all at the same time. And I will be moderating this session, so I will give you the word, and then you can speak. And then we have some technicalities about the whiteboard, but I don't think we will use it because we have some other presentation that will actually steer our discussion a bit. So the whiteboard in this session will not be used. So I was introducing myself quickly. My name is Margot Vingerhoedt. I'm a communications expert on green energy and sustainable transition. And I work at ECOPOWER. ECOPOWER is a Belgian renewable energy cooperative, or according to the new EU vocabulary, an energy community with over 60,000 members now. I'm not alone here. I will be moderating this session, but I'm joined also by Jacopo Tosoni. Jacopo is a policy officer at EASE. He studied European affairs in Italy, the Netherlands and Belgium, so he has a broad European perspective, and he has followed the asset project from its inception phase. So he's very well aware.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello, Jacopo. And we will also have two short presentations by Filippo Capizzi. Filippo is an energy consultant at Greenfish, and he is a renewable energy engineer. So he has the technical point of view also, who studied in Italy and France, and who values greatly the educational approach with his clients. He will tell us more about it. And then last but not least, we have Egle Karekaite, a project assistant at EASE, who holds a master's degree in environmental studies and sustainable science, and is here also for some technical support. So I will not be introducing more. Let's go to the content, which we all came for, and let's hope we have a fruitful discussion afterwards. So I now give the word to our colleague, Filippo Capizzi from Greenfish.
Good morning, Margot. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone, for being here. What I will tackle today is some of the questions that came up in my mind when I was gladly asked to present during this second session. Already the title in itself, I think it gives an idea of the different points of view that I would like to hear from you while sharing my own personal. And first, a very small introduction about what is Greenfish and why I am here. I am an energy transition consultant at Greenfish since the beginning of 2019. And in a couple of slides, we can also see the vision and the mission of Greenfish, because while we try to attain a fully sustainable and profitable future, one of the pillars of our mission is the one to foster the knowledge. For almost 10 years, Greenfish has capitalized on the knowledge and the skills and the capabilities of the junior and senior engineers who have joined the company. And as a consultancy, we have also the mindset of helping our clients. Margot mentioned that I usually apply a sort of an educational approach with my clients. And the idea is to empower the clients to know something more after my work with them. So being a consultant means helping the client because they have a need that I cannot solve basically internally. We know what we're talking about. But giving that extra value is something that everybody should do, every consultant should do in a certain way. And the way I do it is I leave the client with a bit more knowledge that he had before I came into the company. What I would like to show also is the kind of a responsibility that we show to our clients. Now that we're going to talk about the skills gap, for example, the idea is also to show that we need to tackle the gap from a point of view, not only from the hard skills, from the technical part, but also from the for the so-called soft skills. And soft skills, they change. We read a lot of articles about what are needed, what the companies are looking for, if the COVID situation changed this need for soft skills, and if we need to look at something else. But one of the things that to me is crucial and it should be always important and everybody should have is the sense of professionalism and the sense of responsibility towards the profession, towards the sector, and towards the client, whoever would it be. By doing this, at Greenfish also have a sort of mindset that is, yes, it's scientific, yes, it's impact oriented, but it's mostly collaborative. So we value the teamwork while valuing the single approach, the approach and the impact of the individual. And if we go, for example, already to start the first session, sorry, the first topic of the session in a couple of slides, I've written some food for thought that I wanted to share with you already. And I will briefly share my point of view on the questions in the next slide. And I would like you also to read them while I talk for preparing eventual answers. So when I was reading the question of the first topic, like how can the member states overcome the skills gap in energy related professions, I think there is a lot that we can elaborate here. But first of all, I would like to ask, what kind of skills gap are we facing? So I mentioned that usually we have the distinction between hard skills and soft skills. So technical skills and the skills that put you in collaboration with the others, or skills that define you as a person. And it's kind of a both, but someone can always tell me you learn certain soft skills from experience. So once you start working, once you move from, for example, from university or from high school to the world of work, then you learn something that nobody can teach you at university. And that is something that I totally agree. But at the same time, from my experience in both in Italy and France and with a short parenthesis in Sweden, I've tested different frameworks, different educational frameworks and work frameworks all over Europe. Every country has its own way of dealing with work, with the university, with the education. But having the chance, I consider myself lucky because I had the chance to test and get the best from different countries. And now I am some kind of a mixture of the best practices that I could learn, also from all the mistakes that I made working here and there. But the kind of skills gap that we are facing right now is an idea of how should I, one of the most common questions from students is, how should I enter the work of what? What do I miss? What do I lack? I'm scared because I don't know what I'm gonna face. And this is the kind of question that, despite being common and usual, I mean, it's something that nobody can answer completely because everybody has his own experience and his own point of view. But is there a way that we can somehow create a framework that member states can share their best practices in order to reduce at least um, this fear of entering the job world, the fear that's saying, how do I tackle certain issues? How I'm used to work at university in a certain way. Maybe I've done some vocational work, maybe I've done some trainings, I've done some internships, and I still think that they will be always the same after these experiences. Is it always the case? If yes, if not, these are questions that we should somehow help students or first-time workers to answer. So myself, when I ask also among the questions you see, is it solely the role of member states to tackle the skills gap? I will say no, simply because the close collaboration between the member states, the industry, and the academic that all have a role in this can achieve a useful result. And we should not forget to consider the high school education. So we don't have to focus only on university, because from my experience, I've seen way more opportunities for students who are at university, who are enrolled in a university for both for bachelor or master, than students who have only a high school education. There is also the other aspect to consider, that people with only an high school education, or people who are still enrolled in high school, are facing, let's say, a reality that is mostly local, not always, but mostly local. So the role of the local industry, the local education, they were the first point of contact for them, is it should be the first step, but they should be also backed up by member states. And member states, they should use the collaboration we have at the European level to, as I said, share best practices that can be used all over in all of the countries in Europe, while respecting the different cultures and the different peculiarities that each country has, and nobody, I think, wants to get rid of. So maybe if you got an idea of what is my point of view, maybe we can already go to the next slide, then point directly to you. Regarding my point of view, it's okay if someone would like to challenge it. I am here for this one. But what is exactly your point of view on that? Should only the member states help to overcome the skills gap? And if yes, how? If it's not something that they're already doing right now, of course.
Okay, thank you so much, Filippo, for your presentation, input, and point of view. We have about 15 minutes left for contributions, so let's hear the participants from different countries and different point of views, and their opinion or their national situation, or the things they might want to share with each other about education in their country, or their view on what the EU can do to foster this education and to close the skills gap. Who would like to speak? We have a contribution from Martin Giep.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Martin Giep. I'm from the European Commission, from DG RTD, replacing Helene Cray, and we are working on the clean energy transition. So we're preparing research basis for the clean energy transition. And so I do not speak for a national country, I speak for whole Europe. And as I think Green Deal started, and there are very ambitious goals, there is also a timeline. We don't have so much time. So that's why I would like to go already into detail what we think, well, where something has to be done with respect to the skills. And there I would like to raise 3 points or 3 dimensions. So one dimension, I'm working on batteries, on battery storage. Battery storage is very important for clean energy transition to make windmills and photovoltaics work when there is no sun or wind and so on. And there, the Battery Alliance has been put into life some years ago from the European Commission, Battery Alliance to strengthen the European battery and battery cell production value chain. And there also skills dimension is a part of an action plan. So I'd like to recall this. So for energy transitions, batteries is very important. Also hydrogen is coming, but I think battery is still more important for the moment, and hydrogen is still coming. This is one dimension. The second dimension, now with the COVID crisis, we have seen that we have to work on resilience. So health is one obviously resilience aspect. There could be other aspects. It could be, for example, natural disasters. There could be aspects like shortage of materials for political problems or so. And there also we need skilled people that can help us to overcome this problem. So we have to train people in that direction. So there are various directions, obviously. And there's a third dimension that I want to talk about that is completely different, but we don't have so much time. The third dimension is gender. There has been studies from the Clean Energy Ministerial and also from the European Parliament recently, and it shows that in the clean energy ambience or environment, the gender dimension is very unbalanced. There may be, let's say, in a few words, maybe only 20% of women working in that, and all the rest is men, and there something has to be done to overcome this and to also to induce interest to, well, for everybody and for women to come and join into this world. So this is the 3 points I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin Gieb from the European Commission. We have a time constraint, but apparently that pushes us to very concrete and detailed information to share, which I actually see as an advantage. So thank you so much for sharing these 3 dimensions the Commission is working on. Very briefly, batteries, resilience, and gender balance. And about gender balance, we can also see that in this session, which is apparently mainly male. But it's really nice to hear that the Commission is focusing also on that topic. Maybe we could go to a national perspective, or somebody else who wants to share something at more an EU point of view. I think we're about 19 participants here, so we also want to listen hear from each other. But I'm sure we have some interesting national points of view here present that might want to share, or that might want to comment on what Martin Gieb just shared with us from a European point of view. If we still have to warm up a little bit, I might want to ask our colleague Jacopo, who is also with us and who will be the rapporteur of this session, but who also wanted to contribute some thoughts himself. So Jacopo, anything from your side to heat up this contribution a bit?
Indeed. First thing first, sorry, I will not turn my camera off. My connection is not amazing. But that said, indeed, we saw it also in the presentation from Greenfish. There is definitely a skill gap, and there's definitely, I would say, different approaches from country to country. And if you look at, for example, at the national energy climate plans, we have some example of very ambitious plan to educate the citizens that goes from climate projects at the school level to, of course, something more STEM focused at higher educations. And this is the case of Belgium, but also we have countries which do not necessarily address the matter of reskilling and improving the conditions. The Commission mentioned the gender equality is not something necessarily mentioned. So my question will be to the Commission, but also to all the participants. Is there some topics that need to be discussed at a higher level than the national one, so at the European level, or we risk having one size fits all solution that in the end is not very apt because different countries start from different starting points, have different realities? What will be the perspective of the Commission, or what will be the perspective of the participants here?
Okay, thank you, Jacopo. In the meantime, we go to Carl, who wanted to share some from his national point of view from Lithuania, I suppose. So, Carl, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, taking from the information provided by Mr. Gibb from the European Commission, from a national perspective point of view, in our project, we teach this in universities. We've got 35 students, and unfortunately under 10% are women. And we don't have a high entrance level. Everybody who wants to come gets in, no questions asked. So we're not giving hands up, but we don't know what to do. So if the Commission policies can somehow push that forward and get those numbers up, we're all for it. But coming on the skill cap question, as we've understood that, and we completely agree that even though hydrogen is on the table, batteries are the nearest thing that we are going to experience, looking at how much batteries are being set up for power system services, for frequency control, and so on and so forth. There is not so much of a skill gap, as it's quite easily taught what batteries are and how they work. It's about the experience gap for the industry, because when we asked feedback from the industry, they've said that, okay, sure, we'll take on how much experience has he got respective to battery and supercondensers, as we would like him to start working on a 1.8 million euro machinery. So it's about how much can they get experience in a situation where new technologies come into play so quickly. So that's something that we have understood, at least here with our TSOs and DSOs and energy companies. It's about the experience gap which they have, because nobody has a lot of experience with batteries in the grid apart from the United Kingdom, who has been using batteries for providing services for the grid for a very long time now. But the rest of the countries, at least in the eastern side of Europe, I mean, there's a lack of experience in this field. So that is a question for the future to be answered.
Very interesting. Thank you, Carl. It's indeed a fact that in the industry, it's hard to carry out big projects, expensive projects with very specific technological requirements. In a transition that has to go really fast, it is actually hard to build up experience. And I think it's very correct that you mentioned not just the skill gap, which is maybe more focused at education, but also the experience gap, especially when we talk about the industry and about the people carrying out the projects in practice. I also think it's not really your only point of view. I think a lot of people from national perspective will share that point of view and that experience that you mentioned. Anyone else who would like to share a good practice from his or her country, or maybe a not so good practice?
Margot, yeah.
Yes?
This is Miguel Sanchez. May I speak?
Absolutely, you have the floor, Miguel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I really believe that this is a very interesting session. and I took a lot of notes since the beginning. But going to our point and to our recent discussions, I have listened carefully what Kakul has already said. I would summarize that it's quite important, the industry opinion for really defining the skills. We cannot really go ahead only from the academics or, of course, from the member states to proceed in defining the skill gaps. It's absolutely needed to have the industry, but in a big detail. The industry is, especially the energy sector, is really not suffering, but is really under a big transformation, not only due to the energy transition by itself, but due to the digitalization. And you have to take into account that the workforce of the many companies in the energy sector that are very much accustomed to the traditional training. I have been more than 40 years working in Iberdrola, and I have noticed fully the lack of skills on people that were very much accustomed to copper and iron, and now they have to be in front of software, electronics, and these type of things. So really, what we are facing here, this revolution, is a real challenge that we have to support from our community on the sense of giving the proper solution. Member states, in my opinion, should facilitate, should not be placing a lot of obstacles and a lot of requirements. We have to be, in my opinion, my proposal would be that academic training providers should be really the most active members in this effort, along with the industry, of course, without ignoring the industry. Felix Rom has already mentioned at the end of his introduction the project that we in the University of Comillas are really coordinating. It's the EDI project. The EDI project is taking into account the matters of the energy transition and the matters of digitalization. And I have seen also the SmagriNet. It is quite related to all the efforts. And of course, I said, I am here because I was quite interested in the ASSET project. So we should combine the efforts of these projects that are very much related to energy transition, and we should proceed together. This is the only way really to speed up the needs. Identifying skill gaps, introducing priorities and how to overcome the skill gaps, providing modules, I think has been already said by ASSET, and also establishing a community with a long term, because we are really facing here a long term objective to really keep together going in the same direction in Europe. This is our real common opportunity.
Okay, Miguel, great. That was really interesting. It's not just it's not just an opinion. It's an opinion with coming from 40 years of experience at Iberdrola, which is very, very valuable, of course. And it's interesting that you mentioned actually that we need to establish a strong link between academic training and the industrial needs, and that there is actually a big challenge to put those two together in order to fill the skills gap at industrial level, which is broader than just energy transition, and which is actually which you have to place in the bigger perspective of the digitalization, which is also a huge challenge nowadays, going very fast also. Yeah. We have 2 more minutes for this discussion. Somebody else who wants to conclude, and then we go to the next topic, starting again with an introductions by Filippo. Mm-hmm. Okay, well then I think we will come back on what has been said right here when Jacopo does the reportage in the plenary later. And we will now go to our second topic. And I give the word again to Filippo Capizzi from Greenfish for some input on this second part.
Thank you. Maybe with these 2 minutes more, we can add some more insights for this second topic. So now we're going to focus a bit more on what does the European Union or the national policies should need to focus on. Again, I prepared some food for thought, and it's good that we have someone from Lithuania, because actually I used the country as one of the examples in one of the, I wanted to praise Lithuania for what it's doing at the level of education, at the educational level. Why that? Because I think that it's strictly related how people receive their education and the way they put it into place. Lithuania, why I want to praise it, because it's the European country with the highest percentage of lower secondary teachers who participated in professional development activities. So basically, despite knowing that the education field is a field that is really slow, not innovating enough, and this is what at least what the people working in it say, being able to always update the people who will transmit the message, who will convey the message, basically the teachers, is already tackling, to me, a good 40% of the issues of the people going out of education and entering the job world. In energy, in the energy field, what I would like to connect to what Mr. Sanchez said earlier, that people now are going to face a word that is not the word they are used to. Even facing word with software, it's not something that that it's easy, because it's something that you still need to learn. Maybe we are so used to computers and telecommunications that we think that everybody will start using or a computer or some piece of machinery in the same way that someone maybe even younger is able to do. It's not. This is not the case. And for the same food for thought, what I added also for still continuing the example of the Lithuania is the share of migrant workers who raised between 2018 and 19 almost 70%. This is because there was a comment from a professor of economics at the Vilnius University, said because the wages are better than in other countries. And this may sparkle another aspect of this discussion. Is it only a matter of wages? Is it only a matter of what people will find there? Is the quality of life? How do we deal with this? Because, for example, myself, with the experience that I have, I can go to work in basically all the countries in Europe, keeping the European framework. But what do I choose then the country for? Is it only for the opportunities, only for the company I'm going to work for? What I'm going to find there is the quality of life also that helps me to choose a country compared to another. So going back to the main question of the topic, what does the European Union and the policies should focus on? Focus on, in my opinion, to the whole frame, the whole environment the workers are going to find. Another aspect is, for example, in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is one of the favorite destinations for non-European international students, because they don't have to worry for visa expiration right after they finish their studies, right after they graduate. So they have time to look for a job. In other countries, it's not the case. So I know friends of mine who have chosen the Netherlands for the quality of education, for sure, but this was an extra plus. So the ability not to worry finding another, applying for another visa extension, or finding quickly a job, so they could focus on the studies and then focus on finding a job because they had the time. And we're talking about, if I remember correctly, 6 months extra. So it's not just a couple of weeks. It's a reasonable amount of time. In the other slide that I prepared, I also would like to share another good finding that I discovered while looking for something to share with you. is basically the situation of the young employment in the current European Union. So I think we all know what the term NEET, so the people not involved in employment, education, and training, what it means. And we're talking about the people from 20 to 34 years old, so a couple of generations in Europe, and they amount to the 16.4%. And I noticed of all European people in the same age range. What I noticed that this percentage raises or decreases depending on the quality of the education in the country. The quality of education, so it's also, we can say a bit boldly, that is also a push to people going to work, or at least to keep on studying, or to do something with their lives that it's not trying to understand what how to mingle with it. And there is also a new trend way before also the COVID situation, that of young people switching jobs more frequently and taking longer also to become established in the labor market. So this means to me that this one should be one of the aspects where the European policies should focus on. So why people are switching jobs more frequently? It's because they just can, like most of us do, or is it because of a necessity? So what there's also a question that I asked to you. Maybe you can give me your point of view. But another trend is that increasing number of students, increasing number of tertiary education students is taking or a part-time seasonal work to supplement their income, or they are attending evening classes or distance learning classes. So let's talk about this. Like, what should the policies should focus on? Is it a matter of only increasing the education, the quality of education? How eventually they should do it? Is it something that can be applied at the whole European level? Is it something that depends exclusively on the country? While studying in Italy, for example, I received very good education. The education was really high level, but it was strictly connected with the local industry. So if I more or less found myself forced to migrate because I didn't want to follow what the local industry wanted the university to prepare. And still, I'm lucky because living in European Union means that I can migrate basically everywhere in Europe without visa problems, or without the problem of accommodation and other obstacles that other students may face, not forgetting that international students prefer Europe for 45% of them, and United States it's only half of this percentage, half of this share. So we are I was going to say we are a country as Europe, but we are as one unique entity that can still improve a lot, and it's still seen by the students as a top level destination. It still is, but how to give also each country the same opportunity, because maybe Lithuania is advantage that they have very good policy in place for to improve the quality of their teachers. Maybe, I don't know, Italy has not the same policy in place. Should they apply it? Why? How? This is let's say the points that I wanted to focus on for this, and they came up into my mind when I read the question about the topic.
Okay, that's really interesting, Filippo. So Filippo focused a bit on our topic too. What does policy, national or EU policy, need to focus on? And he mentions that we have a lot of opportunities in the European Union, but between the different countries, there are different opportunities and different playing fields. And that means actually that these are factors that push people to go work in a certain country or to go study in a certain country. And the differences within the European Union are still very big, as he showed us with numbers and personal experiences. And there maybe is an opportunity or need for the EU level to level these playing fields and to get all the to create the same possibilities and opportunities in the different countries. So we have a message here that the rooms will close in 5 minutes, which leaves us hopefully some time for a contribution from one of our participants. Anyone who would like to share a comment or a thought on our second and last topic?
Good morning. Maybe I can share some of my thoughts. I'm Justin,
please.
From KTH, Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, Sweden. I am an assistant professor in the energy department, and it has been interesting to follow up to now on all the presentations and discussion points. So some general thoughts from my side for the last few minutes before I go back to the plenary session. I would say the universities are now ranked mainly by their research outcomes. So I think there should be some more incentives for university teachers and professors to sort of improve the quality, if that's the goal, of like bridging the gap of what is lacking. Because I think most of the professors, teachers, they're doing business as usual. That means, let's say a certain program is doing well, there are many students, then they continue without, well, some do make some proposals of change, and this require actually a lot of effort. I've been through that. and that is not actually valued that much in terms of, I don't know, like improving the university ranking or improving the career of a research-oriented tenure. So that's the first point. And then the second point is also, it was mentioned here about the visa. I think many students, especially international students or like other European students who are coming to, going through borders to other European cities and countries, I think visa, working visa or residence permit, that has been a big issue, especially, I see this through the Erasmus Mundus program, where we have students from the whole world. Since they're changing countries every semester, so every 6 months, so the visa application and visa process has been one of the hurdles they're facing. And then also, as they're not staying in a country for like the whole duration of the master program, let's say. So normally the countries do not give them job-seeking visa extension. Because normally for a local master student, they can have 6 months to 1 year of a job-seeking period. As for the Netherlands, for instance, and in Sweden, I think it's 6 months, if they haven't changed to 1 year this year. So that's also another issue, but this is more from the European level, I would say, the border issue. And then also I'm part of the Unite program. Unite is some sort of European alliance for universities. So basically they wish to form an alliance. Now there are more than a dozen alliances in Europe. The one I'm part of, we are 7 universities and wish to have a co-tutoring of PhD students, so that we take the best from each of the countries, each of the universities, and then put them all together so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's say we have someone from Valencia who is very good in certain aspects, someone from Politecnico di Torino. Then we can borrow and share. And I think this maybe this is also one of the goals of this assets project, where you have the MOOC, so knowledge sharing, and I think that is the way to go. And I would highly encourage that all the universities were actually moving towards sharing our own knowledge and the best that we have at each of the universities. So that's all from my side. Just some humble opinions. Thank you.
Very valuable, Justin. Thank you so much, and excellent timing also. I personally think you mentioned something very interesting there. When we talk all the time about that the academic world and the industrial world need to get closer to each other in order to advance in the energy transition, it might be actually a very interesting idea to value universities not only on their academic output, but also on their practical output and their collaboration with industries, because that would mean valuing the extra efforts to collaborate. And thank you also for closing up or to close with an interesting remark on the asset project, where we also see a lot of opportunity to share knowledge. I think it's 11:40 now, and we will have to close this room. We have a 10-minute coffee break, and then I think you will all automatically be redirected to the general room for our rapportage and conclusions. We're also very curious what happened in the other session. They were talking on industry and academy, and we also mentioned these topics, so probably are a lot of synergies. Thank you all for participating. I will close the session here, and I will meet you again in the plenary in 10 minutes.
Thank you.